Kamala Harris has dropped out of the presidential race. She was not doing well in the polls. She was expected to drop out at some point, but it was shocking that she did so as soon as she did. Now we're gonna go through her campaign, what she pretended to support in the beginning, what she actually ended up supporting in the end, and then we'll share our theories as to why she's decided to drop out. But I do want to read from her official statement on this, which she posted on Medium. 11 months ago, at the launch of our campaign in Oakland, I told you all, I am not perfect, but I will always speak with decency and moral clarity and treat all people with dignity and respect. I will lead with integrity. I will speak the truth, and that's what I have tried to do every day of this campaign. So here's the truth today. I have taken stock and looked at this from every angle, and over the last few days have come to one of the hardest decisions of my life. My campaign for president simply does not have the financial resources we need to continue. She continues to write, I'm not a billionaire, I can't fund my own campaign, and as the campaign has gone on, it's become harder and harder to raise money we need to compete. So that's her official statement. Before we rewind and take a look at how she conducted her campaign, do you want to jump in, Cenk?
Yeah, so I think that she's being honest and acknowledging that she's financially strapped, and that's one of the issues. But that's only half the equation. The other half of the equation also has to do with donors, and this is the part that's not spoken about. So when a real contender drops out relatively early, and that is what's happening here. Kamala Harris has always been a real contender, and she was top 5 when she dropped out. Now you might say, hey, 5 doesn't sound that close to 1, but remember, at different times there's been 27 candidates in this race, and with her exit there still remains 15. So she was always in the top tier, and she was in the top tier now. And she's dropping out a couple of months before the voting begins, so that is definitely surprising. So what happened? Well, as happened on the Republican side with Scott Walker back in 2016, another potential top tier contender that dropped out very early. Usually what happens is that the donors call you and go, it's not gonna be you. It's gonna be someone else that we support. So you need to get out now because you're taking away points from the other person we're supporting. So I believe that is part of what happened here. And so do I have inside information about that from the Harris campaign? I wanna be very clear, no, I do not. This is my knowledge of politics and my experience and expertise gained over a quarter of a century, telling you guys that usually there are conversations like this also within the Democratic Party. Now remember, Bernie's in second place in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and nationally. So we have to coalesce the moderate centrist corporate Democrats behind one candidate. And Kamala, it turns out it's not gonna be you. Now a lot of people thought it was gonna be her in the beginning, including me. I thought she was going to be the establishment candidate. But as it turned out, she wasn't. And so now there's an attempt by the Democratic Party machine / the donor class to take out the other moderates so they could focus their energy on likely Buttigieg.
So do you think there's a possibility that one of the front runners, obviously not Bernie Sanders, but one of the other front runners maybe struck a deal with her as a potential VP pick?
Yeah, look, anything is possible, but I'd be surprised by that because there's too many front runners for her to actively and accurately guess as to who's going to win. So,
or Attorney General, which is apparently trending right now as we speak on social media.
Yeah, but who would she have made the deal with, Biden or Buttigieg? Not gonna be Klobuchar, not gonna be Bloomberg, it's not gonna be Warren or Sanders. So I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It's not that I would say, oh, that is unethical and they wouldn't make that kind of deal. No, let's not be naive. It's just that I don't know who would offer her that deal and who she would think would be credible enough to accept it from. No, I think she really legitimately ran out of money. And when the numbers came out at the end of December for the next quarter, she was going to be very low on that list. And she wanted to drop out before that embarrassing moment and probably got a couple of calls from power brokers in the Democratic Party saying, look, it would be helpful if you were to exit so we could all get behind one person.
So Politico reported that apparently there was a super PAC that had cleared $1 million in TV ads in Iowa to boost her struggling campaign. So they were about to start that campaign I'm sorry, that ad campaign, and then right before they were about to do so, this was announced, and they decided to pull it. So it seemed like there was some money and some support by donors.
No, she's always had. She had the most support by the Democratic establishment when this whole race began. Buttigieg rose late, and even the Democratic donors were surprised at how long Biden has stayed at the top. So they always thought that Kamala Harris would be the person that would rise up and take on the progressive wing of the party, but that did not materialize in the way that she had hoped for and that they had hoped for. So when I talk about the forces within the Democratic Party, yeah, the super PACs are definitely integral to that. So when somebody's thinking of putting in $1 million or more, either for you or for another candidate, will they have a voice at the table? Yes, yes they will. So to say that they won't is incredibly naive and purposely ignores the elephant in the room, the major force in today's American politics, which is the donor money, which rules almost everything.
So let's talk a little bit about why her campaign started out pretty strong and then ended up struggling, okay? Because her messaging, in my opinion, and I'm gonna provide evidence that really bears this out, was unclear, was wishy-washy. She did start out attempting to appear as though her positions on policies were incredibly progressive. In fact, here's a mashup that kind of gives you a sense of that.
On these issues. Hey guys, you know what? America does not want to witness a food fight. They want to know how we're going to put food on their table. This president walks around talking about and flouting his great economy, right? My great economy, my great economy. You ask him, well, how are you measuring this greatness of this economy of yours? And he talks about the stock market. Well, that's fine if you own stocks. So many families in America do not. You ask them, how are you measuring the greatness of this economy of yours? And they point to the jobless numbers and the unemployment numbers. Well, yeah, people in America are working. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. So when we talk about jobs, let's be really clear. In our America, no one should have to work more than 1 job to have a roof over their head and food on the table.
So, she's really focusing on economic issues there, issues that progressives have really brought to front and center when it comes to this election. And then things started to change when it came to her support of Medicare for all. And we'll get to that in just a second, but do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so she had the right lane, which now Buttigieg occupies if you are an establishment candidate. What was that lane? To be brazenly pro-corporate conservative Democrat? No, that's the lane that, for example, John Delaney, Michael Bennet, Amy Klobuchar are in, and that's a lane that's headed nowhere. That's a cul-de-sac. So that is not the correct lane. The correct lane politically, if you're an establishment candidate, was pretend that you're a progressive, but tell donors and reporters behind the scenes, I'm not really, don't worry.
And she did that.
Yeah, she absolutely did do that. But then she lost her nerve. And she panicked and then publicly said, no, I'm not a progressive. I'm turning against Medicare for all. I'm turning against all these proposals. She had them. She had Biden. She landed a couple of really strong punches against Biden in a political debate. I said that she won that debate. Everybody says she won that debate. But I'm just telling you, as a progressive, I thought she won it even though I don't totally agree with her policies.
Yeah.
So she had the right lane. But my best guess again is that donors pulled her aside and was like, no, Kamala, we're not doing Medicare for all. I don't even like you talking about it. So go in the other direction. So now Buttigieg has taken that lane and it has given him success. Pretend to be a progressive, but in fact, turn around and give the donors everything they want.
So I want to help reinforce the point that you just made because you're absolutely right. She did have some strong moments in debates when it came to hitting back at Biden and Buttigieg. I'm sorry, Biden on busing, I mean. So let's go to that video. Again, this is during one of the Democratic debates. Kamala Harris is confronting Joe Biden on busing.
It was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of 2 United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And there was a little girl in California who was part of the 2nd class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Yeah, I think that was her strongest performance in the debates. And honestly, after that, she did become even more wishy-washy on Medicare for all.
Yeah.
She did waffle on a lot of these policy issues that progressives care about. And look, the mistake that candidates are making, this isn't just about Kamala Harris. This is about a number of candidates who keep pretending as though they have progressive policy stances. They think progressives are stupid. They think progressives aren't paying attention. We're paying close attention to everything these candidates say, both on the campaign trail and on the debate stage. And so they can raise their hand and claim that they're in favor of doing away with private insurers. They can pretend like they support Medicare for all. But the devil's in the details, and I think over and over again, we have seen candidates suffer when they waffle on Medicare for all, when they say one thing on the debate stage and say something completely different behind the scenes.
With the notable exception of Pete Buttigieg, because the media refuses to criticize him under any and all circumstances.
Right, but here's the thing, like Pete Buttigieg, I don't think he's ever really pretended to support Medicare for all.
No, he did. In 2018, he boldly said he was for Medicare for all when it was polling well, and he thought he was going to pretend to be a progressive. The media will not criticize him under penalty of law. And I say that in relationship to Kamala Harris, because they did criticize her from time to time on her waffling, on her raising of her hands, but then putting it down after the debates. So when they noticed that she was doing those things, they would criticize her. When she attacked Biden, a lot of the press criticized her for being too hard on Biden.
Right.
And that got her waffling, and then eventually she went back to being supportive of Biden. And so that got into her head a little bit. So I give that as a comparison to Buttigieg, because Buttigieg never gets criticized for anything at all. So he gets a free ride. And so I don't know that it's racial or it's gender related. I really don't know that. But I think it's fair for people to ask why. Why is there, even among two candidates that are incredibly similar, they're in the same exact camp. It's not a progressive versus establishment, so that doesn't explain it. Between Buttigieg and Kamala Harris, they're nearly identical, but the press was middling on Kamala Harris to tough, and total free ride for Buttigieg back then and today on the same exact flip-flops. But I do want to go back to Senator Harris's issues here. She said, that girl was me, talking about the busing, the clip that we showed you. First of all, Biden's unbelievable. I mean, you might have seen the very end there. When she says that girl was me, Biden goes, like, you didn't see that coming? That was unbelievable, right? So watch this.
I know you're talking about, that was a kind of cut.
That was kind of quick, but yeah. But she had shirts made out after the debate that they handed out, said that girl was me. What are you doing? That's why Maya Rudolph started making fun of her on Saturday Night Live, because she's pre-planning the tweets, the social media reaction, the merchandising based on a line she rehearsed before the debate and they had pre-produced. No, then you look totally inauthentic. You had a great line, leave it be, leave it be. And then in fact, don't leave it be, keep on going. Why did you backpedal on Biden? You had him, and you weren't competing against Warren or Sanders, you were competing against Biden to be the establishment candidate. You should have never let the press and the donors get into your head about don't criticize Biden, he might eventually be our guy. Who cares, you're running against him. You were right about all those, you should have gone after him on the bankruptcy bill, on giving away the taxes. Even Michael Bennet went after him for making Bush's tax cuts permanent. So there were so many things to go after there. But her number one problem wasn't that she made those initial attacks. That's when she rose. There's no question about that. When she was saying she was progressive and she was attacking Biden, that's when she rose up to the top three. When she was wishy-washy, backpedaled, admitted she wasn't a progressive, and stopped attacking Biden, she slid all the way back down. That there is no question about that chronology. So now the mainstream media might try to deceive you with false talking points about why she might have gone in the wrong direction. But the timeline is crystal clear.
I want to actually look at the timeline because we have a chart from Real Clear Politics that compares all the different candidates and where they stood depending on the month. And if you can see, Harris is orange. So the orange line represents Kamala Harris, and you see her spike in July, and then after that she starts to dip considerably, right? And then in April was when she started experiencing her first dip. And Warren started experiencing a little bit of a surge. And remember, that was when Warren started to really push this notion that she's a strong progressive, she's gonna hold Wall Street accountable. At that time, she claimed that she was a strong supporter of Medicare for all. And so I think that the media, the mainstream media, has an incentive to stay away from the true narrative, what's really going on, what voters really want, because they wanna, they wanna keep their tax cuts. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, guys, put that chart back up because I wanna show you two things about that. So Kamala Harris goes up right after that debate performance that we showed you guys. So you see the orange spiking up, and then you see it go down. That, when you start to see it go down, is when she changed her stance on Medicare for all. No ands, ifs, or buts. You see Warren in the brown, where she catches Biden, who's in green, and then she starts to head down. That is when she changed her stance on Medicare for all and started talking about a public option as a transition, etc. I defy anyone to show me otherwise. So those are absolutely clear. You wanna know why? It's not that complicated. Democratic primary voters, New York Times just did a poll on this. 81% of them want Medicare for all. Where's the hard part? But the mainstream media will tell you, oh no, the voters don't want Medicare for all. It's unpopular. Hey, Kamala and Warren, make sure you're against Medicare for all. How's that working out for you? And to be fair to Elizabeth Warren, she's not against Medicare for all, but that two-tiered idea of going with a public option first, disaster. And that's what's tanking her numbers. So at the end of the day, when I look at all of that, I think, all right, you try to winnow the field, big donors, and get behind Biden or Buttigieg. I'll take my chances. If it turns out Sanders is the one true progressive that's left, I like those odds a lot. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.